Danielle Dressel, Ironclad CrossFit, lesson number 1, what makes a great class? All right, coaching, planning, and fun. When it comes to coaching, the factors that I feel are most important are going to be number 1, seeing and correcting. I want to make sure that I'm able to see both dynamic and static faults and then give those good corrections as needed. I also find that cueing, when you are cueing people, to give it very short, actionable cues, making sure that it is directional and get in, get out, get moving on to the next person. When we have another thing that is important to me is going to be staying on track. I think that it is very important for me specifically as I go through the 2-1-2 that if I'm cueing 2 people across the room on their static and then I'm watching somebody in dynamic, I need to focus on who I'm going to focus on in a very controlled manner as opposed to flying across the room because I saw something over there and then getting stuck over there and not managing my people properly. When it comes to group management, one of the things that I am working on is pulling them in to then push them out to make sure that I have their complete attention and direction is given as opposed to everybody talking and not listening and then me having to repeat myself multiple times. When it comes to planning, having a lesson plan is very, very, very important, but also more specifically having your drop dead time as to when you need to start to work out the last possible minute so that you can get that 7-minute cool down in, because that is something that we as a gym are trying to implement and make it a non-negotiable in class. So having that drop dead time and being cognizant of where you are within the class. Next, I think very important is going to be scaling options, not only for people who are injured, but also just for those beginner athletes, making sure that you have a plan ahead of time on your lesson plan for what could happen if somebody does need a different type of option. Having that rattling around is very important. Next, having a large class option is going to be very important. We have a very small gym. There's about 2,200 square feet of actual usable gym floor space. So when we have classes upwards of 18 people or more, actually 16 is the max number of barbells that we can have without any other cardio equipment out. So we need to be able to have a large class option available and ready. If our head coach does not provide that, I generally write one on my lesson plan to make sure that I have a backup plan in case somebody just shows up. Next, I also have time management, and that alludes back to the lesson planning of making sure that we are staying on time. So you can have a lesson plan, but if you don't follow it, you need to follow it, right? So making sure that if you give yourself 7 minutes for a power clean progression, that you're sticking to those 7 minutes. When it comes to fun, this is my area, really good. This is also where I think that most people can hide poor coaching is with presence and attitude. And I think that when somebody has that big energy and that good vibe, that can often come across as good coaching, but not necessarily true. Well, another thing that I want to work on and focus on, or one of the things that I find is important for a great class, is going to be balancing fun, but also having control. That goes back to that group management. The 3 things that I want to focus on specifically in this semester is going to be keeping those cues short and actionable, making sure that I'm not running off, going long-winded on something, which will go into my time management, making sure that I'm staying on track for that lesson plan. I also want to stay on track as far as giving those cues and following those people, in that sensible order instead of getting distracted and running across the room to squirrel over there. And last but not least, one of the things that I learned from Lindsay when I went to CrossFit Rife is for that group management, and this is something that I'm trying to impose on my coaches as well, is to pull them in so that we're not repeating ourselves a million times. I know I already said that, I'm repeating myself now. Pull them in to push them out. So that's a really big thing that we're evolving in my classes right now is I'm like, everybody bring it in. Go over what we're doing again, and then, okay, now go do it, as opposed to them not listening, me talking, people are moving, because if they're moving, they're not listening. So this is what makes a great class.